get started. Hi, everybody. Good morning from beautiful Berkeley, California, this sunny, cold December day. You are in the application workshop for the Master of Engineering program here at Berkeley. It is managed by the Fung Institute, which is who we are representing. So welcome to our application workshop. This is the second of a series of 3 info sessions, and this is the second to last. We will be having another info session tomorrow at 2 p.m. Let me just confirm. Yes, 2 p.m. And that will be focusing on the statement of purpose and personal history statement. If you can't make it tomorrow, we will be recording it. We're recording this as well, and we will post it on our YouTube channel, Fung Institute. And you can see our October sessions as well as our November sessions. So let's get started. Important. The deadline for the application is Wednesday, January 7th, 2026. So that's 4 weeks from tomorrow. And that is, it's due at 8:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, or if you're on the East Coast, 11:59 Standard Time on the East Coast. So as long as you make it in that general, by those days, depending on where you are, make sure that you mind the deadline. And this is for instruction, then begins in August 2026. So we're on the semester. We're in the semester system as opposed to quarters. And this would be, so you can apply here through the grad.berkeley.edu/admission/apply. And this is for, again, the Master of Engineering. So let's talk through the requirements. So you have to select a department in concentration. Make sure to provide your unofficial transcripts and your GPA. This is under academic history. Should you be recommended for admission, be admitted, and accept our offer, then we would need your official transcripts. But right now we can do unofficial. Test scores. So the GRE is required only for IEOR. All other 6 departments, BioE, CEE, EECS, material science, mechanical, and nuclear do not require GRE. But if you want to list your second choice as IEOR, there's a place on the application you could do that, but you would need to make sure you have valid GRE scores if IEOR is your second choice. If it's not, then unfortunately you're not meeting their requirements. So the TOEFL score also needs to be sent in, TOEFL IELTS, for anybody who has a basic degree from a non-English speaking country. You also need your essays. Oh my gosh, sorry. You also need your 2 essays, statement of purpose, personal history statement, and that's what we will be going over tomorrow. And then you will need 2 to 3 letters of recommendations. I think most of our departments require 2. A couple require 3. But if you want to add an additional one, the application gives you that flexibility now. Before, it used to be you had to kind of fake a 3rd letter in order for the application to be submitted, but that is no longer the case. So you can add minimum 2, or you can add an additional letter if it only requires 2. And then we also require your resume or CV so that we can see your educational and professional background. Here's how to apply. So you create a UC Berkeley graduate application. Like I said earlier, gradapp.berkeley.edu/apply. Make sure to double check the admit term and program. Select graduate application for the academic year 26-27. So currently we're in the 25-26 academic year. You can only important. You can only apply to one program at a time. So the kind of roundabout way of applying to a second program is that offering the second choice, but you can't apply to the MEng and then say I don't know, an MPH. So you have to choose one. And then what does the asterisk mean? Anything that has an asterisk is required for you to complete. If you do not complete it, then the application can't move forward. So here is where you would designate your program. So for example, this is for fall 26, again, the 26-27 academic year. Oh my gosh. And select your program. So if you are interested in bioengineering, this is the way to go. We need to update. I thought I had updated, but no. So this is the old application. So the application for 2025 is January 7th, 2026. January 7th, 2026. That's a Wednesday. Again, 8:59 p.m. Pacific time. And here are the various MEng programs. So this is where you pick the program that you want as well. So please review the website and make sure that you are positive of the program you want to select. There's also a concurrent MBA MEng program. So, and that is a little bit different. There's an MBA application in terms of round one, round two from Haas School of Business. And so you would enter your primary research and emphasis in that section. And oh my gosh, why does this keep? A drop down of concentration options will appear when clicked. So that's where you denote what area you're interested in. And in terms of your academic history, please include all schools where you received college credit. This includes universities where you studied abroad, or any community colleges that you took classes from. Unofficial transcript works for review purposes and must include your name, your university name, course titles, dates when you took the courses, and then the grades that you received in those courses. And then, of course, it should also have your degree, and then the conferral date. If you graduated. If you haven't graduated, we will need that, but once you are admitted, accept admission and enroll. And so one quick tip, look at the transcript. Are other schools listed as places you have received credit for? Like if you studied abroad and it says credit from study abroad school, yes, then you need to list those schools, and submit their unofficial transcript. So you will need to make sure we have all of that. In terms of international transcripts, please upload a scanned copy of your transcript, degree, certificate, and any translations for each institution after high school. The only not required translation are obviously English and Spanish. For anything outside of English and Spanish, we do need translations. If you have graduated and your transcript doesn't show when your degree was conferred, please include a scan of your diploma and degree certificate so that we know that you actually have officially graduated. You should also include the grading scale. A lot of international schools do not grade on the 4.0 scale. So usually on the back of the transcript, it says, 90 to 100 essentially equals an A or something like that. Oh my gosh, I keep doing this. Why do I keep, okay. If your academic records are in a language, oh, okay, I got ahead of myself. If there's any other language other than English or Spanish, submit the translations prepared by certified translators from your university. Either that or the American Translators Association or the Ministry of Education. Degree names and grades should be transcribed, not converted into English words or the US grades of A through F. And make sure to upload the original language and translation if that does apply to you. Okay, we do not require an official transcript at the time of application. Official transcript will only be required from admitted students who accept admission and are enrolled. And that is usually due early October of the fall semester. And for folks who don't submit that, then their enrollment in spring 26 is put on hold. So let's talk about grade point average. So make sure to check on our website. And so actually, well, you're talking to me. So calculating your GPA. So we do require that you calculate and enter your grade point average as a value between 0 and 4. If your GPA is not based on the 4.0 scale, do not leave these blank. We do require that. So if you have, so go ahead and convert that GPA, but then, like I said, add the rubric that you're using. Sometimes institutions provide that conversion, so upload that. And then if you feel like you have to explain anything, you can do that in your statement of purpose, just like one sentence or something like that to kind of uh, contextualize your journey and where you studied. So we will need your cumulative undergraduate GPA. So that means all of the classes you took as an undergrad. Advanced GPA, this is courses after year 2. So here in the US, 4-year degree, usually years 3, and 4 are your advanced courses, are your upper division, are your major specific classes. Some folks have 3-year degrees. So in that case, I would do maybe part of the second year, whatever classes you took that were for your major or something like that. That's how I'm thinking of differentiating. And then we also ask for a GPA in your major field of study. So if you were a computer science major, then calculate that using your using those computer science classes. And then cumulative graduate GPA, if you have that. And then if your intended field of study was not your major for your undergraduate degree, calculate the GPA for all courses listed on your transcript that relate to the field of study which you're applying. So if you were a business undergrad, but want to go into mechanical engineering, use all and took classes and calculate that field of study GPA using the mechanical engineering classes that you took. Okay. So, and then if your GPA is not on a 4-point scale, as is the case for most international students, please enter your undergraduate as determined by your university, but then also upload a calculation worksheet that I was mentioning earlier for the advanced undergraduate GPA and the cumulative undergrad GPA, unless it's clearly stated in your transcript. But again, making sure that that things are as clear as possible so that your application can be reviewed holistically and also accurately. In terms of test scores, so this is really important. Double check your name, your date of birth, and email that matched exactly on any test scores you're submitting and then on your application. This is important. This is important because if one thing is off, so my middle name is Carol. So if I started my application as Janine Carol Bernard, but then my exam scores were Janine Bernard, the system is not going to auto merge them. So make sure that, and the same goes for your email. If you use your Gmail address for one and your, I don't know, your berkeley.edu email for another, then again, it won't match. Sometimes applicants create a Gmail account only for their graduate admission. So whatever is easiest to you for you is best, but just make sure that you're consistent and using the same exact name, same exact email, same exact date of birth. I mean, that shouldn't change, right? And so the GRE, once again, required for IOR only. And then please submit the scores through ETS using the 4833 code on or before the application deadline. In terms of TOEFL or IELTS, this is evidence of English language proficiency and is required of applicants with basic degrees from countries in which the official language is not English. So even if I've had cases where some folks are asking about, well, I'm from India and my classes were in English. That's great, but we still require a TOEFL or IELTS from any applicant from the country of India, with a basic degree from the country of India. And for the TOEFL, please be sure to submit scores using, again, the 4833 code. And then your most recent score will be the one that we look at, and it has to be valid within the last 5 years. And so you need at least a 90 for the TOEFL to satisfy that requirement. But if you decide to take the IELTS, there is no school code required, but the overall band score should be 7 out of 9. One other thing about that, I've mentioned this in other info sessions. So it does your TOEFL requirement or English proficiency, evidence of English proficiency is based on the country that you received your basic degree from. So for example, myself, I'm a California resident, born and raised here, US citizen. But if I had gone to school at the UK, if I was at, I don't know, Eton or London School of of Economics or something like that, and I was applying to grad school here. Wait, UK doesn't make sense because they're in English. Sorry. So if I was going to like France, if I was going to um, some French school, but I'm born and raised here with English as my first language or anything like that, I would still need to provide the TOEFL. Um, but if, say, I had a basic degree from France, but the 1 year master, say from Cal State, SF State, then that would be waived for me because I'd have at least 1 year of a master's program in the US. Test scores. Am I exempt? So, as I mentioned, in order to be exempt from this, you would have to have a basic degree from a recognized institution in a country where the official language is English. So say you are from Latin America but you went to school here in Berkeley. Your TOEFL is not required. Or if you went to school at London School of Economics, that's fine. You don't need a TOEFL. It would be waived for you. But if you don't have that, or if you have a master's degree from a university outside of the US, even if the language was English, then we would still need that TOEFL. And so the other way to get exempt is have completed a basic or advanced degree at an institution in the US or abroad where the language of instruction is English and the institution is accredited by one of the US regionals accrediting agencies. So that's the caveat. So it can be an advanced degree outside of the US, but it has to be an accredited institution. And for anybody who has questions about that, you can email us and then we can answer that on a case-by-case basis. And then the last way to get an exemption is to have completed at least 1 full year of academic coursework with a grade of B or better at a regionally accredited institution within the US. So that's if you took on a master's program outside of this program. And so you can email me or you can email gradadm@berkeley.edu about your eligibility to waive TOEFL IELTS. Or you can email us both, Fung Institute at berkeley.edu and gradadm@berkeley.edu. Now, let's talk about the essays. So again, we have an info session tomorrow about these. And so please note these guidelines slightly differ from the graduate application, but it's for us. So listen to what we say. Sorry, what am I doing? Okay, so the personal history statement should not be a duplicate of the statement of purpose. Your statement of purpose and personal history statement are both 1,000 words. The statement of purpose should describe your career goals and how this program will meet your professional aspirations. So if you're entering the field, tell us about your engineering interests and the skills you wish to acquire during the program of study that would catapult you into the career that you want. And then also please describe how you hope or expect to contribute to improving to improving engineering in your future professional endeavors. So I don't know, there's a lot of engineers that are, bioengineers that are doing some crazy, cool medical, having medical advances and helping people that way. Civil engineers, they make structures, safe and stuff like that. So that's your statement of purpose. It's basically kind of your marching orders, what you want to do, what you're planning to do. And then your personal history statement, also 1,000 words, should describe who you are, your family, the experiences that make you a unique individual, and your connection and motivation for working in engineering. And it should leave the committee with a better understanding of who you are as a person. So it's a supplemental kind of paper. So it contextualizes who you are, right? Statement of purpose is this is what I want to do. I want to change the world. I have all these great ideas. And then personal history statement is this is how I came into, this part of my life. Um, yes. And so statement of purpose. So a little bit more about this, articulate your interests, your background experiences, your passion in engineering, and then how it relates to your future goals and aspirations. Make sure to highlight your skills, but also the gaps in knowledge that you want to expand. I mean, you're coming to a program to be trained, right? You don't know everything yet. And then what do you hope to learn within our program? How will this affect your ability to accomplish your career aspirations? And then to make the argument for why now? What is it that is, you know, um, giving you that itch right now to apply? And then why you see Berkeley Master of Engineering? What is it that really kind of calls to you? And then why the specific area of focus, right? Why are you thinking of robotics or something like that? Don't just repeat your resume. Make sure you really put something there. And then again, maximum word count 1,000. And then, as I said, in the personal history statement, it's the contextualize. So you may include any relevant and information on the following. So how you have overcome barriers to access higher education. So provide any context. This is a great way to provide any context for any gaps or inconsistency in grades or test scores. So, maybe you were sick, or maybe you were caring for somebody that was sick, or maybe you had to work a semester. So you had to take time off, or you had to focus on something other than your academics. Or sometimes people are just not great test takers, right? You have all the knowledge, but it's hard sometimes to just spit it out in like the allotted amount of time. Or if you haven't had any of these barriers, how have you come to understand the barriers that others face, right? If you don't experience barriers, that's fantastic. But then also you see the underserved communities and what can be done for them, right? How can barriers be limited for them? And then also make sure if this is applicable to include any academic service to advance equitable access to higher education for women, racial minorities, and individuals from other groups that have been historically marginalized and underrepresented in higher education. Make sure to talk about your research and if this is focusing on underserved populations or anything related to the issues of inequality, um, leadership that you have among such groups or in general. Allow yourself to reflect and expand, not express, on key experiences that have prepared and are motivated you to pursue graduate school and the field of engineering. So, what is it? What was that aha moment that you said, this is what I want to do? Make sure to highlight your passion, your maturity and focus and strong motivation. Again, do not duplicate the statement of purpose, and also make your word count. Make your words count, and should only be 1,000 words. Oh my gosh. Tips for both essays: be conscious that the review team is reading many essays. So be concise and careful with your language in order to make it as focused and readable as possible. And where, use 2 words instead of 4 if possible. That way your words are concise and they pack a punch. And they're easier to read and review. Remember to always tell the stories that are unique to you by adding specific details and talking about what you are passionate about, and you'll make your essay really stand out. Make sure to proofread. It's important to demonstrate strong and clear writing skills, and make sure that if you're talking about the school, make sure that the school is the one you're applying to. Sometimes I've seen like, hey, University of Pennsylvania, when it's like, oh, UC Berkeley. And I know folks are applying to many different programs, but these are the little things um, that matter. Okay, so letters of recommendation. So most departments, like I mentioned earlier, require 2 letters. There is an ability to add additional letters now. So if you want to add a third one or fourth one for those that require 3, that's fine. If possible, at least one should focus on your academic potential. Your recommender, so once you enter your recommender's name and information, they will get an email notice when you click the send to recommender button. And it will email them a link to a page where they answer a few short questions and then upload a PDF of their letter. And you can submit your application even before all your letters are submitted. So letters of recommendation are due the same day as the application deadline. So if I were you, I would submit at least a few days ahead of time. Make sure that the reviewers submit their letters as close to the deadline as possible, if not before. We cannot move forward with applications that are incomplete, that are missing one of the required components. And then we recommend you waiving your right to view the recommendation as a best practice, because I think otherwise we have to ask for special exceptions for this to happen and for them to be submitted. Yeah. And then another tip, double check that you have their correct email information. If your recommender is having trouble, try switching browser or check they're uploading a PDF file. Make sure their emails are correct. It's a PDF file. And actually, what I just saw something earlier, somebody couldn't upload their PDF. They sent it to me. I couldn't upload the PDF. They, for some reason, they had encryption turned on in their PDF document. So just make sure that they don't have that, because otherwise we can't see it. So that does nobody any good. Okay, another tip: ask your recommenders if they have time to write you a recommendation, and if they're able to write you a strong recommendation. Give them a copy of your resume and or statement of purpose. Sometimes I even have seen people give kind of like an outline, not telling them what to write, but definitely like, here, focus on my research spent in, I don't know, in Bangladesh or something like that, or focus on, make sure to mention this peer reviewed paper that I co-authored and published, something like that. But make sure that you ask somebody that you believe knows you well and can speak highly of. Ask someone that has academically or professionally evaluated you. Ask someone who has experience writing letters for other students, and or has aided folks with, applying to a professional or graduate school. Um, Make sure you provide them with deadlines and get a clear answer, and follow up with reminders and thank you emails for sure. Share materials, again, such as resume, CV, essays, any unofficial transcripts, to provide your recommender with more information. So the more, so that they can write a well-rounded letter. Ask your recommender to use letterhead as their and their professional email. So sometimes people just say, oh, can they ask any old body to be their recommender? But it's really important that you choose wisely because a lukewarm or passive letter will not do you any good. Um, Even if it's from a professor that's well known, whatever, ask somebody who can really talk about your what they've witnessed in working with you or teaching you or supervising you, mentoring you. Is that it? Yes. Okay, and now in terms of department awards, so we do have some limited availability. One of the things that we do here is that we provide a third of our professional degree funding back to the cohort that is enrolled. So we have a Dean's Full Scholarship, we have a Dean's Grant, we have Fung Excellence Award, we have the MEng Opportunity Grant, and then the sample potential range is from as low as 1,000 to as high as 30,000. And there are a couple of folks who eventually get full fees. And then to apply, please fill out the department grant application section in the application as full as possible. Um, so to be considered for the Master of Engineer Opportunity Grant, fill out the grant application, College of Engineer grant application section completely, as much as you can. And so there's 4 sections: applicant information, personal resources, family and sponsors resources, other resources. To fill out, oh my gosh, to yes. So please fill out each section of this page, including the agreement essay and all other numerical questions. This is important because incomplete grant applications will not be considered. Well, how can we holistically review and give an amount if there's insufficient information? So here is a section E, opportunity grant essay. And so we ask that you describe your financial circumstances, how you will add to the educational diversity of the cohorts. Make sure to include any experience or exposure you have in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion, whether through community organizations, personal experiences, or in the workplace. Like, were you part of a committee? Were you part of a student group, etc.? And then for the application fee, so the process application payment by the deadline to be considered for review. So I would do it maybe 2 days before, because sometimes you don't get the prompt to pay right away. So I would say do it by Monday, January 5th, if possible, and then make sure to make that payment. Those who do qualify for a waiver by Office of Graduate Admissions, please make sure to follow up on any required documents. Um, our office is not responsible for waivers granted by the Office of Graduate Admissions. So just make sure to follow up with them if there is something that they need, or if you have any questions. And so this is what the payment fee waiver section looks like. And then, so we do have a Berkeley MEng application fee waiver for applicants who are current undergraduates and or alumni of UC Berkeley, and then current undergraduates and alumni of any UC or California State University and are considered California residents for tuition purposes. So current undergrads and alums of UC Berkeley, and then current undergrads and alums of all UCs, all CSUs, but you have to be considered a California resident for tuition purposes. That means that you pay taxes here, you have a driver's license here, you vote here, so all of that good stuff. Then the graduate division, a little bit more. Oh no. A little bit more about the graduate division. Oh my gosh, what happened? Okay, there we go. Graduate division application waiver. So please complete and submit again by January 7th deadline in order to have your application fee waived. This process will happen automatically or on or around the application deadline based on the undergraduate university information listed on your application. So for this, you'll select the credit card option, but don't pay. Submit your application by the deadline, but don't pay. And that's it. So your application will be credited for payment on or soon after January 7th. So that's why I think that it's important just to do it a couple days early, just in case the system needs a little bit more time. Then you can but make sure you submit. Um, and then what happens after you submit? So you can check the status of your materials in the application portal. So you can see there if your fee waivers have been approved, test scores received, letters of recommendation submitted. Um, the admissions committee will review the applications and recommend top applicants out of completed applications. No application edits are permitted after submission. The Office of Graduate Division does a final review of each applicant and provides final approval. So if we say, hey, we want to admit, John Smith, we can only recommend you for admission. Once we send that information to Graduate Division, they're the ones that do the final check, make sure your transcripts there, make sure you graduated or are on track to graduate. If we need anything that's missing, like if you have a transcript that doesn't have the degree conferral, then we'll ask for the diploma, etc. So they're the last check to get everything that's required before they offer full and official admission. So applicants should expect a notification of their status of their application on or before mid-April. So the decisions, I believe, are made kind of on a rolling basis, with smaller departments making their decisions up front, and then the larger departments like EECS, mechanical engineering, and IUR, they may take a little longer, so they may be closer to like that April timeline. Other folks may be as early as early March or something like that. But yes, make sure to look at your application portal and follow up with any needed or missing materials when and if you aren't emailed. So here's the checklist. SOP, statement of purpose, PHS, personal history statement, your current resume/CV, 2 letters required, 3 letters for EECS only, and I believe CEE might also require 3. And then at least 1 from a former professor or someone who can speak to your academic potential, if that is possible. Transcripts, they may be unofficial for all college level coursework, but again, if you are admitted and accept admission, then we will need the official copies. Make sure to send degree certification and translated copies if necessary as well. And then test scores, send GRE for IOR, and TOEFL scores to code 4833. And so the last thing is application. So pay the application fee or have documentation of the fee waiver. And we have one more event. That's tomorrow, the 10th, 2 to 3 p.m. And we're going to be going into detail on the statement of purpose and personal history statement. Why does this keep going? Okay. And then finally, this is my last slide. Follow us on social media at Fung Institute, #Berkeley MEng. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Medium, YouTube as well. We're on YouTube where we post all these info session recordings. And any questions, feel free to email funginstitute@berkeley.edu. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and stop sharing. And I will open it up to questions. I'll start off with any in the chat. Let's see. What if you're a double major? Then I would calculate your double major, your major GPA with all the courses that you use for both majors. For the GPA calculation, if I attended an in-state university, do I need to upload calculation worksheets for the advanced? I would just say maybe make clear which classes you're using in that GPA calculation. So you don't need to do like a calculation worksheet, but maybe just do like a little table that lists the classes that you took that you are using for this advanced calculation, advanced GPA calculation. For the advanced GPA, should we include distribution requirement courses such as that we took? No. So don't take any like general ed classes that you may have taken after year two. Just only include any upper division. We call them upper division here. So at Berkeley, anything under 100 is considered lower division undergrad. Anything above 100 is considered hot upper division undergrad, but grad students can take those classes too and receive credit. So that's what we mean. So any of those higher level courses that could have been for your major or could have been something related to your major, but not necessarily requiring it, but nothing like, English R1B or, nutritional science and toxicology, which is really a popular class here to satisfy one of our breadth requirements. So none of that stuff. Let's see. For the letter of recommendation, how shall we mix the professional versus academic? Can I? And then Nabiha answered, yes, you can. Yes. So a mix is great. That way we can get to know you a little bit better, right? I always tell students or applicants, we want to see who you are as maybe a leader, who you are as a student, who you are as a researcher or somebody out in the field. So we want to make sure that you get your recommenders to speak to different parts. Obviously, there'll be a theme that's you and that runs through each letter, but we want to make sure that we get a good understanding of who you are holistically. Let's see. I was wondering if we need to submit a file for the sampling of relevant written work, as it doesn't mention it. So does this mean like a paper that was written or published? I think there is a place that you can add any additional materials. It is not required, but if you feel that you want to, if you're proud of something you published and you want to make sure it's added, then go ahead. But again, remember that reviewers are reading hundreds of applications, so don't add like a 50-page paper that you really want folks to read. We want to make sure that you include the concise, succinct, relevant materials and make it easier for the reviewers to understand who you are, where you're coming from, and make a decision based on that. Is the count 1,000 pages? Is the word count 1,000 application website, or 1,000 is the maximum? Are applications reviewed as they are submitted, or are they all reviewed? They all reviewed after the deadline. We're not even looking at these until after the 7th. Please, could you summarize the difference between the two essays? Yeah, so just a quick thing. So again, statement of purpose is kind of like, this is my plan. I want to take these classes. I want to go into this field. I want to, I don't know, create a microchip that's going to change the world or something like that. That's your statement of purpose. Your personal history statement is, ever since I was a little girl, I wanted to work with my hands, or I was interested with computers, and I met these people in my life that kind of guided me into the direction of engineering. And so it's kind of the context to your statement of purpose, because you're not just somebody, you're a person, you have a personal life. So it's how your personal life touches your professional life and your professional goals and endeavors. Um, and thank you, Nabiha. She also included that in the chat. What if you took higher level courses in your second year? Then you should include those too. So if you were one of these smarty pants and wanted to take, I don't know, organic chem 100, then you can add that into your advanced GPA. Let's see. In the academic history section of the application, for courses that are currently in progress and listed as in progress on a transcript, should we still add them in the separate section? Um, yes, go ahead and add that. And then just so that we know, in case the reviewer is like looking at your CV or your academic history and saying, oh, they're really missing this important class, but then they see that it's in progress. So they also take a look, is I think reviewers across campus don't just take a look at the grades you get, but the grades you get in certain classes. And then also couching that in your statement of purpose or personal history statement, say, like I mentioned, yes, earlier, maybe you were sick, maybe you were taking care of a sick person, so maybe that semester you didn't do great, maybe you got a C plus, but you want to make sure that you talk about that in your statement of purpose, and then also make sure, and then say, and so that's a great way to say also, well, maybe I got a bad grade there, but I'm actually taking this class, which is a higher level, or at a community college or in an extension program, and it's in progress, but I'm learning all the skills necessary. And I'm not sick anymore. I'm not taking care of people that are sick, and so I have a better opportunity to succeed. Let's see. So for SOP and personal history statement, should we be following the guidelines or the slides or the guidelines provided? So I think the link you provide, Fat, is a general. So make sure that you're not going outside of their general guidance, but then also it's specific to us. So try to definitely use our prompts as additional guidance. For the samples written work, can I submit my research paper? Yes, so you can submit that. Again, make sure it's not too long, because then it might not get read in its entirety. So, but that's up to you. If you are really proud of a specific work you published or are publishing or wrote, you can certainly add that. Let's see. Nicoya, I sent an email to Fung Institute. Da, da, da. So we are going to take a look at any applications coming from Africa, and we will be making a deliberation next week on whether we will be offering fee waivers for those. This is in relation to the MasterCard Foundation scholars as well. They could only provide a limited amount of fee waivers, so will be going through um, the applications and deliberating on who we should or who we can give fee waivers to. So that's for Nicoya. And then please, would you summarize the difference between the two essays? I think I already responded that. Can we remove the extra classes? Let's see. Let's see. Why won't it expand? Okay, hi, you can find more information here. Da da da. For statement of purpose, would you recommend us talking about our undergraduate experience or future endeavor? Or should it be, I think that focusing on what you want to learn and what makes you passionate about the fields of engineering. You can definitely pull in some of your undergraduate experience, of course, but I think that statement of purpose should be looking forward, should be about, this is what I want to do with my life. This is what's my passion. And this is, in this program is how I will develop all the necessary um, training in order to be successful. How can I get your prompts for the two essays? So they're in the application, so you can just read that. And there was also a link up above, which I can't copy and paste from the meeting chat, unfortunately. But yeah, so that's all the questions that are in the chat. Please feel free to ask more in the chat or to remove yourself from mute, unmute yourself, and we can just chat. We have about 9 minutes left. So I'm happy to spend these 9 minutes really clarifying things and really making things um, understandable for you all so you have the best possible chance of submitting and being admitted. Okay, couple more came. Since the program is MEng and it's not thesis based, should I still mention the research areas and professors that I'm interested in? Yes, yes. So even though we're not thesis based, we do have capstone. So yesterday we had an info session about the program in general. So we do have a capstone experience that it's not necessarily like writing and research and stuff, but students, once they are admitted and enrolled in the program, they get to rank their top. We share a list of projects with them, and then they rank their top six, and then they're placed in teams based on those rankings. And the teams have a facilitator, and they usually have, deliverables due and stuff like that. So that's a good, it's good to mention that because we also want to make sure that we are admitting folks into concentrations as well. So that just is more information that is helpful. So yeah, so you can definitely write about the research areas you're interested in and professors that you're interested in working with. This is a 9 month program, so it is quite fast, but I think it's good to like just get it all out there and yeah, and see what kind of develops and what you end up having time for, really. Okay, when filling out the grant department application, it says to add our income from last year and this upcoming year. Should we be filling that out as though 2025 is the past year or as though 2024 is the past year? I would say 2025 because it's always a little funky with the cycle of admissions because, we start in fall 24 or fall 25 for a fall 26 matriculation. So when we review this is going to be 2026. So you are going to want to say the most immediate previous calendar year. For the opportunity grant essay, how long should it be? Do we have, let me see. Let me go back to that slide. Do we have, I mean, I think it should be maybe half as long. I don't think we don't have a requirement, but maybe half, maybe 500 words, no more than 1,000 words, I would say. Um, should the research be written in the SOP or personal history? I think that depends. If you're talking about, it could be in both. So you can say in your personal history statement, when I was a kid, I was, exposed to this research from this famous engineer and you know, that inspired me to look into this field. So that would be a good personal history kind of addition. But then for your personal history statement, you can say, I in my, in my career, I have worked on research with so and so, and that really kind of guided me into this track. So I think personal history statement to kind of explain the past and who you are as a whole person, and then statement of purpose is looking to the future and what you want to do in your career as opposed to what you have done. I mean, you can include some of it um, as long as it's supporting your vision, I guess your thesis in your essay as to what you want to do in the future. Ooh, okay, those are all the questions, but we still have 5 more minutes. So anything you all are have a burning desire to know, again, we have our next info session tomorrow. And let me just link that really quick. Mm, come on, learn more. And these are, hold on. Where are info sessions? Information sessions. Yes. So here, let me link that here. So if you go on that link, if you go all the way down in December, so you'll see we completed the 12-1 program office hours, 12-8 program office hours, info session 12-8 yesterday. Today was the application workshop. Tomorrow will be the graduate writing workshop. And then I will be holding 3 office hours from here until the application deadline. So one of them will be next Monday, the 15th from 1:30 to 2:30. So if you have any questions as you are submitting your application, you can feel free to go to that. And then we are also providing 2 in January on the Monday and Tuesday before the application's due on Wednesday the 7th. So you can see that on the 5th, it's 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. On the 6th, it's 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. These are not recorded and then won't be put up on the website. So you can just show up as needed, or you can email us, as I mentioned, at Fung Institute, or I guess these are recorded. This is recorded. The drop-in office hours are not recorded. Sorry. At Berkeley.edu, right? Fung Institute at Berkeley.edu. So there you go. And with that, we are just shy of 1 p.m. But thank you all so much. It's been great to answer all of your questions and see you all on here. Wait, there was one Q&A over here. Can this program lead to MS or PhD? Yes. I mean, it wouldn't be the most linear progression. The MEng is really made for applicable use in the field, but it can certainly, if you find that you're in a field and you want to go into a PhD after a couple years of working, you can certainly do that. It's a master's. The MS is a separate degree, so you can also, but it's a master's level degree. So you can also, you would need to apply separately to those things. Um, okay, and so with that being said, we are at time, and thank you all so much. Best of luck, and we look forward to reviewing and reading your application. All right, take care.